IMSA Podcast. As today, me and Zachary Taylor are going to recap the Sebring 12-hour event, which was a crazy race we had. We're also going to talk about some other IMSA news and some stuff like that. And yeah, so I'm DJ Bowles, and he's Zachary Taylor. Say hi, Mr. Taylor.
Yay!
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I did come prepared. And if somebody tells me I didn't come prepared, then I'll send Taylor to whack you in the head with a banana. You're welcome, Taylor. Plus, is not an answer.
Okay. Dumb question.
I'll provide you a dumb answer real quick before we start this awesome television programming.
Why would I whack somebody in the head with a banana when one that wouldn't hurt and two would smash all over their hair?
Actually, three, it would have some spikes on top of it. Is not an answer. Anyway, I want to let everybody know this show was supposed to come out Tuesday, but because my job decided to be a bunch of derping hyenas and give me a double, we had to move it to today. That's how we can explain it. But Mr. Taylor, are you ready to go?
Yes.
So we're going to recap Sebring, go over some IMSA news, and I believe we are previewing, I think it's Long Beach, if I'm correct. I'm gonna go double check to see who's racing at Long Beach while we are at it. But I believe, and I could be wrong, Taylor. I believe they are racing. I think it's only IMSA that's racing the weather tech. Let me double check to confirm that. Let's see here. It's only the IMSA deal because the pilot challenge would be off because where is the pilot challenge? Oh, there you are. The next pilot challenge race would be at Laguna Seca, so it's only the weather tech, plus it's only the GT classes. We'll come to that in just a second. But let's go in the order of the race weekend that was for this class. Apparently, the Lamborghini Super Tafio, apparently, for whatever reason, the results never came out. I don't know why. But that's what they get for being a bunch of derping hyenas. But that's besides the point. Let's start in the order of how the races went. Let's start with the MX5 Cup as we are beginning recapping the races. So race number 1 took place. We had a bunch of drivers that took part in this event. So here are the top 10 results from race number 1. Tyler Gonzalez got the win after 2 solid races he had at Daytona last time out when we covered this series. Finishing second was Connor Zilic, who, if you missed the Triple P portion where we talked about Connor Zilic, you can click the link in the top right-hand corner. He finished second. Points leader Gresham Wagner came home in third. Nate Cesario came home in fourth. Fifth was Weston Workman. Sixth, Jared Thomas. Seventh, Aaron Jeanson. Eighth, Selene Rowland. Ninth was Noah Harmon, and 10th, Nathan Nicholson. Guest driver, we had Jesse Love. He finished in 21st in his IMSA debut, trying to get ready for this weekend's races at COTA, which, by the way, if you didn't see that episode, you can watch Triple P on what we thought about the weekend. Race 2, Wes Workman gets his first career win in his 4th start. Connor Zilic got second. Third, Jeremy Fletcher, who had a poor race 1 but bounced back in race 2. Jared Thomas 4th, Aaron Jeanson 5th. 6th, Jake Nicholson. 7th was Preston Partis, Xfinity regular. Jonathan Newdorf finished 8th. 9th was John Jordan. And completing the top 10 was Grant West, who did not start Daytona after having mechanical problems in that event. Jesse Love ended up 12th in his second race of the day. So, Mr. Taylor, I turn over to you and ask you, what was your thoughts on the MX5 Cup races we had at Sebring?
Well, definitely, kind of have to say it was very interesting for sure. Really good racing, I would say. And you mentioning a couple of NASCAR drivers there with Jesse Love and Preston Pardis. That could definitely potentially help them for a road course in the NASCAR. But definitely, overall, though, it was a really interesting race for sure.
Preston Pardis is also an SCCA driver, even though he's running part-time in the Xfinity Series, if you didn't know that. Plus, he's a former national champion in Spec Miata, so that's probably why he's running racing in the in this class. So he's been pretty good. He's like a 3-time national champion. His last championship was during the COVID year of 2020. So yes, we had the Porsche Carrera Cup had their first race of the season. Which we were excited to see them. We had a total of 40 drivers. They were divided in the classes. They had the Pro-Am class, the Masters class, and of course the overall class. So let me just go over the top 10 results from race number 1. Logue Hard Dog, that's a weird name, but he's a Dutch person. He won. Gustav Burton second, Ryan Yardley third. Here's the ironic part. Burton, Yardley, and Hogg also were the podium finishers from race 2, but in a different order, but they still shared the podium nevertheless. Fourth in race 1 was Alex Setwick of the United Kingdom, Colin Kaminsky 5th, Michael Cooper 6th. Zach Vanner got 7th. He's from Canada. British driver Dan Clark got 8th. 9th was Vets Baltez, and 10th was Jimmy Libre. Finishing 4th in race 2 was Michael McCann. 5th was Alex Sedgwick. 6th, Michael Cooper. 7th, Colin Kaminsky. Jimmy Libre 8th. Dan Clark got 9th. 10th is V. Balti. So a couple of drivers we had some drivers ironically finished well. Some drivers didn't do well. So what were your thoughts about the Porsche Carrera Cup with 40 of those suckers racing at Sebring?
Well, definitely, I would say that was a really good racing. A lot of really interesting stuff happened over there. And, some weird names, too.
Yeah, some of these names we've never heard of before. Even we had Madeline Stewart from New Zealand, which is a very interesting driver, but hopefully they do well. The Carrera Cup's next race will be at the Miami Ultradrome. That'll be the same weekend. We will talk about the F1 race for the Miami Grand Prix later on down the road. That is their next race for the Carrera Cup. We're going to skip the Lamborghini Supra because for whatever reason they decided to be a bunch of derping hyenas and not show the results. That's just my opinion. Let's talk about the Pilot Challenge race that took place last Friday, the Alan J. Automotive Network 120. And I have to say, it was a very good race nevertheless. So let's give you the... as I guess Wikipedia forgot to post the results of the other class. That would be the TCR Drivers Championship, which I may actually go see if I can find the results for them. Let's actually do that while I'm thinking about it. Pilot Challenge. That is... Okay, so let's only go over the Grand Sport class results because that's the only one we have. Frank Debut, Robert Liddell got the victories. Congratulations to him. Vincent Hasselcloth of France and Roy Van de Stuur got second. Jensen Anteman, former NASCAR driver Chad McCumbee, completed the podium in third. Paul Horton got fourth. Rounding out the top five was Keaton Cook and Paul Sparta. Keaton Cook is not related to NASCAR driver Blake Cook. Just want to point that out for anybody asking. Robert Foley, Francis Selderoff got sixth. Seventh, Micah Stevens, Jesse Webb. Finishing eighth was Jason Hart, Matt Travis. Finishing in ninth was Sean McAllister and Jeff Westphal. And completing the top 10 was Riley Dickinson and Michael McCarthy. Of course, we don't have the TCR results because apparently they decided to not show the results. What a bunch of numpties. Let me see if I can find them in the results over here. Which I have the results over here for TCR. Chris Miller, Mikey Taylor got the win. Morgan Burkhart, Chase Jones second. Andy Lally, Nick Tucker third. Chad Gilsinger, who got a silver medal when I saw him race at the Romps. He and Stephen Ellich got fourth. Harry Gottsacker, Robert Wickens got fifth. Dennis DuPont, Preston Brown got sixth. John Morley, Gavin Ernstone seventh. Mark Wilkins, Mason Felipe got eighth. Tyler and Victor Gonzalez finished ninth. Not the Victor Gonzalez that races for my team. This is a different Victor Gonzalez. And Carl Witzman and Dai Yoshihara completed the top 10. Let me see if I can actually find the results for the North America deal. If I could find the results. Apparently, they are not showing me the results, and that starts to annoy me. Oh, well, screw that. We're just going to go straight on to talk about the big race, the 12 Hours of Sebring, Mr. Taylor. And I have to say, that was a very interesting race. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah.
What was your thoughts on the Pilot Challenge race, by the way?
That was a good race, I would say, over there. And really good racing. And I would say that was a pretty fun race.
Yeah, this week for Long Beach will be the GTPs and the GT Daytonas. LMP2 and GT Daytona Pro are off this week. So there you go. So let's go over the results as always. Luis Delatraz, Colton Herta, and Jordan Taylor were the winners of the 12 Hours of Sebring. Finishing second was Sebastian Bourdais, Scott Dixon, and Ringer van der Zande. Third, Dean Cameron, Matt Campbell, and Felipe Nasser, an ex-F1 driver. Fourth was Connor D. Felipe, Maxi Martin, and Nick Yalotti of the United Kingdom. Completing the top five was Felipe Albuquerque, Brendan Hartley, Ricky Taylor. Sixth, Philip Ing, Augusto Farfus, and Jesse Crone. Finishing in seventh was Matteo Coronelli, Andrea Cardelli, and Roman Grosjean. Surprising to see Roman Grosjean race this weekend at the 12 Hours of Sebring. Julian Andelauer got eighth. Ninth was Frederick Makowiecki, and completing the top 10 was Jack Aiken, Tom Bloomquist, and Pipo Durrani. That was the Grand Touring prototype results. For LMP2 was Ryan Dazzle, Dwight Merriman, and Connor Zilic. Finishing second was Mikael Jensen, Hunter McEllery, and Stephen Thomas. Third was Paul DeResta, Boyd Garg, and Dan Goldberg. Fourth was Joar Barbosa, Johnny Egger, and Lance Wilsey. Finishing in fifth was Josh Bourbon, Felipe Fraga, and Gar Robertson. Sixth was Tom Dillman, Nick Bully, and Jakob Mikowski. Machowski from Poland. Molly Jacobson got 7th. 8th was Dennis Anderson, Laurent Hoare, and Seth Lucas. Finishing 9th was Colin Brown, George Kurtz, and Toby Sori of the United Kingdom. And then Ben Healy, Ben Keating, and Nico Pino were the top 10 in LMP2. For GT Daytona Pro, Ben Burncoat, Jack Hawksworth, who will be racing at COTA, which we talked about him yesterday on Triple P, and Kyle Kirkwood, the IndyCar star. They won that race. Finishing second was James Cadillo Davide Rigon, who raced at Heartland Park Topeka in 2006 for D Sports Racer. If you haven't seen D Sports Racer, I will have that video linked down in the description after this video goes, after you're seeing the premiere. Miko Bortolotti, Jordan Pepper, and Frank Perea got 3rd. Finishing 4th was Brian Sellers, Madison Snow, and Neil Verhagen. Finishing 5th was Mario Farnbacher, Ross Gunn, Alex Riveras of Spain. Finishing 6th was Matteo Cristani and Claudio Schiavonani. Finishing 7th was Christopher May, Mike Rockefeller, and Harry Ticknell. Finishing 8th was Joey Hand, Dirk Mueller, and Frederick Vestic, or whatever, how you say his last name. Michael Christensen, Lauren Henrich, and Sebastian Pirex of the United Kingdom got 9th. And completing the top 10 was Antonio Garcia, Gino Giuntadella, and Alexander Sims. That was your results from GT Daytona Pro. And then GT Daytona was Indy Dungy, Philip Ellis, Russell Ward. They were the winners, and they also won Daytona, so they're looking good to possibly get the Endurance Cup. Antonio Fortunato, Robert Lacorte, and Giorgio Sindigato got 2nd. Adam Ellerson, Jan Heelan, and Elliot Skier got 3rd. Good run for them. Roman DeAngelis, Ian James, and Zachary Robichon got 4th after they had a poor finish at Daytona. So a lot of drivers who had poor finishes at Daytona had good runs today. A lot of drivers who had great runs at Daytona didn't do so well. That's why the points got massively shaken up. Devin DeFrancisco, Misha Goldenberg, and Laura Spinley got 5th. Robert Foley, Patrick Gallagher, who we were going to see in the truck or in the Xfinity race, if you watched yesterday's Triple P show, and Jake Walker got 6th. 7th was Brendan Ivory, Ollie Milroy, and Frederick Stenderoff. Finishing 8th was Jarrett Andretti, Gabby Chavez, and Scott Hargrove. Finishing in 9th was Matt Bell, Ori Fanani, and Lars Kern. And completing the top 10 was Andy Lally, John Potter, and Spencer Pumpelly. That was for GT Daytona Pro. So there you go. So, Mr. Taylor, what were your thoughts on the 12 Hours of Sebring?
Well, definitely it was interesting for sure. Overall, though, that was a really good race. And definitely it was kind of interesting to see some of the drivers that were in that 12 Hours of Sebring, and with some IndyCar drivers and an XF1 driver in there. But overall, though, I would say that was a really good 12 Hours of Sebring.
Yeah, definitely. I thought it was a very good race. It was really one of those respect the bumps, as they like to call it. I thought it was a fun race. I thought it was enjoyable. And, I can't wait to see, how they do now that we got these 2 quick endurance races out of the way, which we're going to preview Long Beach coming up in a little bit. But first, let's see if we have any IMSA news that we need to talk about before we go anywhere. Let me see if we have any IMSA news, if any. I think we already talked about this, but if you haven't heard already, let's talk about the Chip Ganassi leaving Cadillac at the end of the season. Your reaction to that news, Taylor?
That is definitely a surprise. with that happening, that's for sure. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that going forward and what manufacturer they get to drive now.
Oh, definitely. You know something? I mentioned this on Discord before we came on the air, and you and I were talking about this. We haven't even gotten through the 2024 schedule, and we have our first schedule release for 2025. So let's talk about this, Mr. Taylor. The 2025 IMSA schedule was released back on the 15th, so this was right after we previewed the 12 Hours of Sebring. So let's go over the schedule, shall we? The Roar before the Rolex 24 will be January 17th through the 19th, which means our season premiere of the IMSA podcast for 2025 will begin on January 15th. We'll have the Rolex 24 at Daytona from January 23rd through the 26th. The 12 Hours of Sebring that we had, the dates are now March 12th through the 15th. We have the California trip with Long Beach, going to only be for the WeatherTech because Pilot Challenge will be off that weekend. WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, May 9th through the 11th. Detroit Grand Prix, May 30th and 31st. That will be the weekend with IndyCar. The Pilot Challenge will be racing only at Mid-Ohio on June 6th through the 8th. Watkins Glen, that will be the first race after the 24 Hours of Le Mans from June 26th to the 29th. Then we'll have Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on my birthday weekend. Yes, on my birthday weekend. July 11th through 13th. It's the same way this year on the schedule because IMSA's racing on my birthday, which is on a Sunday this year. Road America from July 31st through August 3rd, which will have both Pilot Challenge and WeatherTech. VIR, Virginia International Raceway, from August 22nd to the 24th. Indianapolis Motor Speedway is going to be an endurance race from September 19th through the 21st in Zachary Taylor's home state of Indiana, which Mr. Taylor is definitely excited. And just to make sure to show appreciation, I'm just going to say Taylor is not ejected for excessive celebration. Just to get that out of the way. I think Taylor knows why I did that for that reason. And then the season ends at Road Atlanta for the Petit Le Mans. So what's your thoughts on the 2025 schedule, Mr. Taylor?
Definitely, I don't think we were expecting a 2025 schedule yet. But today, that schedule, though, for next year, though, sounds like a lot of fun. And a lot of really fun tracks on that schedule. And definitely those races next year, I think, is going to make for a fun season.
I mean, what's really crazy is that the 2025 schedule is already out, and we're already two races into the new IMSA season for 2024. So my question to you was it too early to release the schedule, or is it like, okay, we're just going to release the schedule and then go from there? Your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say 50-50 to that. I mean, I definitely don't think nobody expected IMSA schedule to come out in March this year for sure. But definitely, I mean, it is kind of a blow moment that they released that schedule in March instead of like maybe in the late summer or like August or something.
Mm-hmm. But at least we now know what. At least it gives the IMSA folks a chance to pick their dates and plan this now in advance, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yes. Did we rate the weekend or no?
I don't think we did.
Okay, let's do that. Let's do that now. Let's go off the order that we did the results. Let's start with the MX-5. If you had to rate those two races on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being an absolute nightmare and 10 being a marvelous race, What would you rate those races?
I'm going to give them an 8.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you, an 8. Let's talk about the Porsche Carrera Cup. What would you rate those races?
I think I'm going to give that an 8 as well.
I'm going to go with a 7. Let's do the Lamborghini Torero challenge. What would you rate that? Same rating scale.
I will give that a 7.5.
I'm going to go 7.9. The Pilot Challenge race.
I will go with a 8.
I'm going to go 8.5. And finally, the big one, the 12 hours of Sebring. I'm going to say an 8.
I'm going to give that one an 8.5.
All right, so there you go. So there's our rating for the IMSA races. So yeah. So let's talk about our first sprint race, Long Beach. Of course, we're going to have IndyCar there, and of course, if you want to see more of our preview for the IndyCar portion of the Long Beach weekend, don't forget to tune into next week's Triple P segment, or the next Triple P when we talk about Long Beach. That will be a much more discussion on that. So, Mr. Taylor, we're going from 2 endurance races to a sprint race on the streets of Long Beach. And, of course, Long Beach is a really tough track to make passes and all that. So, as a driver like yourself and a team owner, what do you expect to see at Long Beach, especially with the tight turns, especially that final corner being a tight turn?
Yeah, definitely. There's really going to be some tough corners for the drivers to negotiate, and definitely, track position could be a big key because it could be tough to pass there with some of those tight corners and stuff. So definitely, it's going to be a really interesting race to see how the drivers handle all that for sure.
I think it's going to be one of those fun races. Of course, we all know traffic is going to be important, but I think a lot of people is going to be an exciting race. And, this is going to be a fun race. Only 2 classes this weekend, which is the GT Daytona cars as well as the prototype cars. So it's going to make things a lot interesting, and I can't wait to see how the race will go. So, Taylor, what is your number 1 key when we come to Long Beach?
That is a good question. Let me think of something here.
My key is don't go too wide going through the fountain section because it's never going to work, especially on a track like Long Beach.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, definitely. Definitely, you don't want to go too wide in some of those areas. I think something to keep an eye on is make sure that you don't get into the corner too hard, because with some of those really tight corners, the drivers are really going to have to get on the brakes and really get loaded up. So definitely don't want to go flying into the corner like a maniac and cause a wreck.
Yeah, especially that last corner because it's a really tight corner. And you and I talked about that. This track is really hard to pass, and you got to make sure to be careful not to make some crazy moves, as you mentioned. So I think it's going to make this race a whole lot interesting, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen. So should be fun. Any final thoughts for you, Taylor, before we get ready to say hi to Senor Sean by the time as of this taping of our amazing portion of our broadcast?
Definitely. I think we'll be in for a really exciting race and a really fun race coming up. And the 12 hours of Sebring racing carries over to this, we're going to be in for a good one.
Oh, definitely. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, yeah. Always a pleasure for Mr. Taylor for joining me for this week's episode of the IMSA Podcast. And always a pleasure to thank you all for watching this week's episode of the IMSA Podcast. As I said, hopefully we do not have any more issues between now and then as far as the next taping of this amazing podcast. We want to thank you guys so much for watching the IMSA Podcast for the third episode. If there is a series that's racing before then, we'll jump in and do an IMSA podcast as always. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, be sure to give it a like. If you haven't considered subscribing yet, I highly recommend you do so in order to keep up with some amazing content coming out in the near future, as well as future episodes of your favorite podcast coming out throughout the rest of this week and onward to the next. On behalf of Mr. Zachary Taylor, our favorite friend, I'm Dean Boyle. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you guys next time as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of PCS Ray TV, the best in the racing since 2017. And I will hand it off to Zachary Taylor to say his final words of wisdom. Taylor?
All right, we're ready for some racing at Long Beach. Yeah!
All right, we'll see you guys on the next podcast.